Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here are your supernatural hosts, Patricia Baker and Becky Andreasen. Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting adventure on Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, Patricia Kirkman. Hi, Patricia.
Well, good evening, my dear. How are you?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm very happy because today was truly tropical in New England. We hit 30.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but what can I say?
I can only tell you it really felt warm.
Well, here it is.
And for these sub-zero temperatures, 30 felt tropical. It really did. The sun was out, and we were all dancing in the streets. It was really great.
My poor baby. 5:30, 70 degrees.
Now, I have to ask you what the temperature was in Tucson.
I'm sorry. My phone disconnected on me.
Well, don't let it do that.
Well, that's what I get for laughing. As I said, it's 70 degrees here, and it's 5:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, how
I'm
relaxing.
Sorry, that's why God pulled the phone out of my hand and threw it on the floor and said, "Hey, you nasty person. I won't do it again."
Oh, my goodness. But I'm just imagining those beautiful vistas with those mountains in the background and the desert out in front of your home.
Right.
And 70 degrees.
I look out my window at a beautiful mountain scene and some cactus and sunset just starting to come down. Oh, well, I sure do miss the snow.
I'll send some over. We do have a beautiful site, though. It is pretty. I mean, it's a winter wonderland.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
I love it when I look at it, and I see the pictures of it, and I think, oh, gosh. And I can remember walking through it and hearing the crunching of the snow and such. And then I remember how cold it was.
Oh, I know it. And then you have to bundle up. It takes so much effort to get ready, just to get in your car.
Oh,
but
I know
it. It's something when you get acclimated to these cold temperatures, and 30 really did feel super warm today. That's weird.
Well, no, because your blood has thickened so that it doesn't feel like. Now, if I were there, it would probably feel like it's 30 below.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure my blood is as thick as molasses by now from living here all these years.
Coats.
Oh, goodness me. Well, we are going back to the spooky side of our Supernatural Girlz radio show. Ghost story tonight. Lots of ghost stories, actually, because we have a paranormal investigator who has been investigating a number of cases, and he's going to tell us all about Forever Ash, the witch child of Helmach Creek. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyways, he's going to let us know what happened. And also, one of his team members was Theo Costarides, who was the medium that came on our show. Remember him a few weeks ago?
Right. He was fabulous.
He was fun, and he did some marvelous readings for people.
Yes, he did.
That called in. So that was great. But before we go there, I wanted to remind everybody to sign up for our newsletter, supernaturalgirlz.com. Be sure to visit patriciakirkman.com because you want to keep up with everything Patricia's doing. It's always exciting.
And we have a new fair coming up. Yes, it'll be March 1st.
March 1st is your next one? You just finished one.
Tucson, Arizona. Well, it's because, remember, we had a gym show here in Tucson, and that scoffs up the whole town. So everything was put off by 2 weeks. So although we just had one on the 15th, it's usually the first Sunday of the month, give or take. So now we're doing a catch-up and getting back on schedule. So it will be March 1st, and it's at the DoubleTree on Alvernon Way, and we've got a great group of people that are coming, and it's always so much fun. And we've got some beautiful prizes for those that come and get into our drawing.
I hear about that from your people. I have heard about free readings, and one of them is George Lugo, who's quite a superstar medium.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And one of the ladies is giving a full day's event where she is dealing with how to reach your inner self and to reach the spiritual side within you. And it's a full 101 workshop for spirituality.
Oh, that's nice. A nice beginner.
That's one of the gifts for the day.
Oh, what a nice gift.
I put my name in 10 times, just in case.
I bet. Why not? If I were out there, I'd be doing the same thing. That's terrific. Yeah. Well, we will put this in the newsletter again so people can be reminded about this. And it's, again, for people who want a reading, numerology, astrology, Patricia Kirkman. That's where you need to go, patriciakirkman.com, and you can contact Patricia right from her website and make an appointment and find out all about you.
We all need to know about us. Because we will find out things that even our best friends won't tell us.
That's right. That's right. The deepest, darkest secrets will be unearthed.
That's right. And then
knowledge
they can
is
say,
power.
oh, you better believe it, because then you can just look at them and say, I already knew that. That's not a big deal.
Exactly. But you're so insightful, Patricia. I do encourage everybody, if they haven't had a reading with you yet, everybody go out and sign up, because it is a remarkable experience. It's not just your numerology. It's your amazing intuition, that what you pick up on. It's incredible. And I know we all have our tools. I use tarot cards, and other people use runes and other things, but you really have a clear channel there, and it's something not to be missed. So,
well, what are you working on right now, my lady? Because you've been putting some things together also.
Well, yes,
actually. Working on a program to get out there?
We're going to be doing a few things, but one thing I do want to announce is we are going to go back to the Skoll experiment. Now, for those of you who have not heard about Skoll, there's a great YouTube video called The Afterlife Investigations. This is an experiment that took place over 5 years in the UK, and they actually brought back proof of life after death. Well, it's a long story about how we got involved, but Helene and Becky and I all started our own Skoll experiment under the care of Robin Foy, who was the leading medium for the Skoll experiment, who now is in Spain. And we started having all kinds of exciting things going on, and I was blogging about it and throwing some pictures out there for people to see. But then, of course, with Becky's illness and then Helene's illness, things fell to the wayside while I patiently waited for everybody to recover, get better. And in the meantime, Becky and George Lugo and I will be doing the Skoll experiment again. We're starting this Friday. So we'll be sure to report to everybody. And at a certain point in time, we're going to start inviting members of our audience to dial into our Skype number and join us. It's going to be great. So we'll keep you posted.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'll tell you, the Skoll stuff is just the most exciting thing I think I've ever been involved in. And looks like our app on iPhone and Android is going to be available by next week. So we'll have another announcement about that. Yeah, now people can listen and tune in and chat with us 24/7 right from their iPhone and Android. So
nice thing. Retrogrades. The main retrograde is over. By the time we get the app, it will be done. Retrograde will be bye.
Yay! Yay!
Got that right. Running around, go woohoo.
Yes, we can all say woohoo with that one. It's just been a difficult time for a lot of people and having to go over and over things. So glad to say goodbye to that. That's good. So tell us about the numbers now. We're in an 18 today, but we're in a 19 tomorrow. What's coming up for us?
Well, what we're looking at is today we're in a 1 month, which is all about us. And there's nothing wrong about being selfish and making it about us, because that's what the month's about, getting yourself in order and putting it together. But tomorrow we have to put it out there on behalf of other people. So we have to kind of lead, nurture, kind of pet the puppy as we move them forward to get going on the things they really need to work with. The sensitive side's going to be vulnerable tomorrow for all of us, but the main thing is head high, shoulders back, and go for what you know you need to go for, because it's perfect. It's our time. Let people know how great you are at what you do. Others will want to follow you. Can't beat that one.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a busy day.
Oh, yeah, that it will be. That it will be. And for those that have that oversensitive side to themselves, take that deep breath and know that come the following day, it's party time. So they can.
Oh. See? So that's the 20th? It's party time?
Uh-huh. Oh, you betcha. Socialize, have a good time, go out with groups. It'll be perfect.
Nice. I like that.
It's all about communication and creativity, too.
Ooh.
Perfect.
Time to have a lot of fun.
That's right.
Oh, Laura, we are all for that. And now, are you ready for a good ghost story?
Oh, I know I am, for sure.
I'm always ready for a good ghost story, and our guest is Rick Keuber, and he is the author of Forever Ash, The Witch Child of Helmach Creek. And he's covered a number of paranormal cases with E.V.P. Investigations, which is Evansville Vanderburg Paranormal, a group he founded in 2008. And he's been involved, and his group has been involved with investigations in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So, Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this evening.
It's our pleasure. Now,
definitely.
Please, tell us how you got started in this, because it sounded like you really didn't have a long history with this. It started when you were an adult. How did you get into it?
Yeah. Well, I've always been curious about the unknown, and always just had a flair for that sort of thing. And you know, I can't say that a lot of people have that experience as a child that draws them towards it. I didn't really have that. Although when I was an adult, in my mid-20s, I did have an experience where I was at work and out in a rural setting, and I was actually stung in the ear by a hornet. And I had an allergic reaction, went into anaphylactic shock, and my coworker helped me into the truck, and we sped off to the emergency room. Well, long story short, when I was finally discharged that afternoon, he said, "Man, I was nervous." He said, "I think you stopped breathing there for a little while on the way to the hospital, and I thought we lost you." And I said, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." Yeah, I was a little bit shocked when he told me that. I said, I wasn't that bad off. I mean, I did get out of the truck and get on the gurney. And he said, "No, you didn't." He said, 6 nurses pulled you out of that truck and laid you on the gurney. So,
oh my goodness.
the experience I had and what actually happened were different. And I kind of think that may have been like an out-of-body type experience. Because I vividly remember getting out and sitting on the gurney and kind of like I was taking a ride, and these nurses were pushing me into the ER entrance. But apparently they laid me on the gurney. They actually physically picked me up out of the truck and laid me on the gurney and pushed me in. So, that was, kind of a big turning point as far as my curiosity into the afterlife. And then I'm 46, so I was in my mid-20s then. When I was early 30s, my son was born, and within a year of that, my brother died at the age of 36 from a massive stroke.
Oh,
no one saw it coming.
What a shock!
Yes, he actually had the stroke, and this is something that will probably stick with me forever. But he actually had the stroke on my birthday, and died. Yeah, he died 2 days later in the hospital. Yeah, it was very devastating for the whole family. But I actually lost several friends and relatives within a very short period of time after my son was born, and it really got me to thinking about, what if that had been me? I've just brought a life into this world, and it really got me soul searching about things, and I just wanted to know that there was something beyond this, that if that would have been me, that I was going to see my son again. So I started researching about paranormal events and the afterlife, and kind of stumbled across some information about paranormal investigating. And actually, about that same time, we were living in a house that had some activity. Nothing really phenomenal. In fact, at the time, I actually kind of brushed it off as just being, I just couldn't find my keys, and well, they're right there where I thought they were, And I just never thought a whole lot about it. You'd hear the footsteps in the attic. Well, there's a dang squirrel in the attic again. And,
there always seems to be some type of a terrestrial explanation for these things.
Yeah, you can rationalize 90% of it away.
Yeah, but then you go a little further with it, and a lot of these things cannot be explained. Now, you're living there with your son at the time?
Yes, my son and my now ex-wife. But, yeah, my wife at the time and my son, we lived there. And the one thing that I never really could explain, my ex-wife and I, we were laying in bed about 10 o'clock at night, getting ready to go to sleep, and we heard this scream. It sounded like it came from right outside of our bedroom window. And, of course, I jumped up and looked out the window and ran outside and couldn't find anything. No one was out there. So I never really had an explanation for that. And it wasn't until later on, looking back, that I thought, well, maybe that's tied to some of this other unexplained things that happened. But it's kind of ironic that shortly after we moved out of that house, it actually caught fire and burned down.
Oh, my goodness.
I wasn't able to go back and find out any information about it or investigate the property or anything. But that's really kind of what drew me into the paranormal and wanting to find some answers.
And you assembled quite a team. How many people? 6, 7 people on your team?
Well, actually, right now we have 4 core members. I've always tried to maintain a small team. When we initially started, I think I did have about 7. But what I found out was it was difficult to really connect with a number of people. So we kind of shrank our team down. We had some members move away, and I started in 2008 with Jennifer Kirsch, who's actually still on my team. She's my lead investigator. And in about 2010, we brought in Theo, which we had worked with before, but he wasn't actually a team member. And then we also brought in Katie Collins, who's also still on the team.
And Katie, was she a psychic medium also, like Theo, or not?
Katie, no. I don't want to project anything onto the team, but I kind of have a feeling that Katie may be a little bit of an empath. She's quite emotional sometimes on investigations, and I think she may be connecting empathically with some of the residual energy there. Jennifer is a little bit more intuitive, but we tend to leave most of the psychic investigating to Theo, and we try to investigate more on a scientific level.
So he's kind of like your eyes into the spirit world. So he'll tell you what he sees and what he senses, and then you're measuring things, testing things to find out what's showing up in physical reality.
Yeah, recordings and yeah. And I've got a history of, I have a passion for science. In high school, when I graduated high school, I had a double major in science plus a couple of extra credits on top of that. So I had more than enough credits for a double major in science, and it's just something I've always been passionate about. And it's really fascinating. When I started the team, I wanted my goal was to prove that the paranormal existed, that there was life after death and all that sort of thing. And that's kind of the direction that I sent the team in. And it wasn't too long until it dawned on me that, you know what, I've got enough proof myself. I don't need to prove anything to myself anymore. And it's going to be nearly impossible to prove something to a skeptic.
Oh, you're not kidding.
So, yeah. So at that point, at about the same time we brought Theo into the team, we kind of shifted directions from proving paranormal, and we still try to find the evidence for those people who are experiencing it, because that helps them understand what's going on. But our shift went from proving the activity to trying to help those in need, both here and on the spiritual side.
Now, what kinds of equipment do you bring with you, since you like the science part of that? It's always intrigued me because every once in a while I'll tune into something on television, somebody's doing some ghost hunting. They always have these wild pieces of equipment. What do you guys bring?
Yeah, that's true. And, when we first started, that was the big thing was, okay, what's the latest piece of equipment we can get, and it was all about how much money we had because we don't charge anything for what we do, so everything came out of our pockets.
Oh, yeah.
But it got to the point where it's like, you know what, they're just selling a product. But I do think that the EMF detectors work very well. We have a wide variety of those type pieces. We have the K2 meter. We have a Mel meter, which has the digital readout, and it reads milligas as well as units Tesla. So it picks up a variety of types of electrical energies in the air. And we have just several different types of EMF detectors, which is good for picking up random energies.
So you pick up a different electromagnetic frequencies through that?
Yes.
I noticed in your book you also mentioned about the digital cameras and video cameras. How well do they work when you're working with a specific area? We've caught some really interesting things using the digital cameras and the infrared video cameras. Mm-hmm. There was one instance where we were in a house over in Kentucky, in an old abandoned home, and the family that owned it lived next door, which was maybe 100 yards away. But it was just the old family home, and they thought it was haunted. So we went in there just to see what was going on. And there was one point where I kind of started feeling nauseous. And I went to sit down in a chair, and shortly thereafter I really started feeling quite a bit better. And when we watched the video of that, as I went to sit down in the chair, I actually kind of blurred out. It was like it looked like the camera was refocusing, but the background was still in focus. Oh, my.
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating here, honestly, and it may have just been the way that the camera blurred, or that I went out of focus, but my facial features
in front of you.
Yeah, my facial features actually almost looked skull-like. My eyes were just dark circles. It was very creepy to look, especially on slow motion. It was like either something was in front of me or I had just threw something.
It sounds that way because you felt nauseous and everything.
Exactly, and when we were watching it, that's what I said. I was like, you know what, that was right when I started feeling nauseous, and I had to sit down. And so we've caught that. There was, you
what
mentioned
about the E.V.P equipment? Do you carry that with you too?
We use digital recorders for capturing electronic voice phenomenon. I'm not a big fan of the ghost box type equipment that picks up. I mean, it basically scans the radio frequencies and picks out little bits of words. So it's really picking up stuff that's already out there.
I can never make out what they're saying. Everybody says, "Oh my God, they said this." I'm like, "Really?"
I don't hear it either. I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's fantastic that sometimes watching these shows, which I don't watch anymore, but I used to. but you watch these shows, and some of them are really good, but a lot of times you're listening, and it's like, I didn't hear them say what you said they just said, and this is on TV, you know?
Yeah, sometimes it's tough. But that's a nice array of equipment that you bring with you to these investigations. So you've got Theo, the kind of eyes and ears on the spirit side with you, and then you have all the scientific stuff to try to capture photos, videos, EVPs.
Yes.
Electromagnetic frequency jumping.
Right. We use a laser grid. We have several of those, so we can set up laser grids all over the place, which will help capture any movement that we may not see immediately. We might catch it on film, or sometimes actually you do see the movement because of the laser grid.
So how do you see that? It interrupts the grid? Do you see like a break in the grid when something passes through? Yeah, cool.
It's like a million points of light, and sometimes it'll break the grid, or you know, it'll black out the grid, and other times you can actually just see the points of light moving.
The grid, is it a combination of lights? I mean, the grid itself, is it lit?
It is. It comes from one source, and we have several of them. So, like, I can put the source in one spot and light up a couple of large walls.
Great!
And it can, and you can adjust it. But I can put on, let's say, a couple of 12-foot long walls. I can light up and have a laser point about every 6 or 8 inches, you know.
Oh, wow.
And just covering the wall like stars.
Oh, that's very intricate.
It's a good grid.
It's kind of
neat.
Yeah. And you know, sometimes actually, if you stare at it too long, your eyes will play tricks on you. But that's where the cameras come in handy, because you know you can always go back and look and see if anything actually was causing movement.
Causing that kind of movement or interruption in the laser. I have to ask you, this is going to maybe sound a little unusual, but I keep seeing here with, usually when Patricia and I get together on the air, all kinds of weird things happen, and oftentimes people in our audience don't get to hear about it. And tonight, I have to say this, and I don't know if you've had a cat or a dog recently pass or something that hangs around you, but I've seen this thing move through my room several times. It's small. It's not a big thing, but do you have a relationship with a cat or a dog in spirit?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't. I've had a couple of pets pass years ago, but nothing recently. And
anything that was really important to you or special to you, because this is telling me that it was a part of your life in a big way at some point.
Gosh. And it's very small?
Yeah.
Okay.
More like a cat than a dog.
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you could think about it and then get back to it later.
I was just thinking, back when my son was born, and before that, we used to have a cat that we loved. We had him for 13 years, and his name was Sammy. We ended up having to put him to sleep. He went through a couple of surgeries, and they finally told us, look, this is just going to keep reoccurring, and it's not comfortable for him. So we ended up having to put him to sleep. But that was probably one of the closest pets that I ever had, or that I had a connection with. Just a beautiful black and white tuxedo cat. It was a monster.
Well, that must be her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's right here in the room with me, and this is not an animal connected to me. I knew it had to be you. It just wasn't sure at what point in your life. But yeah, it was a very powerful connection. And one of the things she's telling me is how much she enjoyed watching you. I mean, there's something about your energy that she found intriguing, and I'm sure that other spirits feel the same way. So it's, there's some people that, as I know you know this, spirits just gravitate towards, and they feel curious about you. So there's something a little different about your energy that draws them in, and your cat is, she comes in and out to say hello to you. So Just so you know.
Well, that's fantastic. I'll have to keep that in mind, and look for any possible signs, because that's very interesting.
Yeah. So
that's kind of a comforting thought as well.
It really is, especially when we love pets so dearly, and they don't stay here long enough, as far as I'm concerned.
No.
13
no, they don't.
years just isn't long enough. So, anyways, let's get to your book and this really strange, spooky story, The Witch Child of Helmach Creek. Start telling us about this. This is a very unusual story.
It really is. And, I've done a number of interviews, and I always hate to give away too much of the book because I want people to read it, but I end up doing it anyway. But basically, we were still, this occurred back around 2010, roughly. And in the book, I changed a number of things. A lot of the dates are not exactly correct. A lot of names have changed, locations. And the reason I did that was because mainly, number one, the family didn't want the information put out there. They were okay with me telling the story as long as I didn't give away any of the details. But basically, like I said, this was in around 2010, and the group started in 2008. So we were still young, and Theo and Katie had just kind of come on board. So, of course, Theo was well seasoned in the metaphysical, but Katie really wasn't. She'd been around for a couple of investigations, but we get, at the time I had a website set up and got constant emails through the website of people wanting to join the team or telling us we should go investigate such and such place because it's really haunted, but they don't have permission, so you need to go there and get permission. So it was,
they send you on these wild
day.
goose chases that are very time consuming, and here you're doing this for free. There's no money coming your way. Nobody's throwing it at your feet to do these investigations. So you're basically doing this out of the goodness of your heart when somebody asks for your help.
Yes, it's out of that, and it's out of a passion for wanting that knowledge and wanting to help people mostly. So, every day after work, I would come home and pop up the computer and go through the new emails or messages and, just see if there was anything credible. And this one particular instance, there was one that was received from a local person that was actually a prominent type figure in the book. I refer to them as a doctor, which is, kind of along the same plane of professionalism that this person was. So it was a very respectable person, and I thought, this might be credible because it was kind of a short email. It just, caught my attention. Not, please help me, and I was like, okay, wow, this is good. So I met with them, and immediately had this compassion for them. I could tell that they were very distraught, and so it was a short meeting initially. And when I went back to talk to them at their home, we met at a public place first, but then I went back to talk to them at their home, and had an experience there. And it was
what happened?
It was kind of bright.
I mean, it sounded like this ghost was very powerful.
Yes. This is probably this entity was probably, and probably still is, the most powerful, or if that's the correct word, entity that I've ever encountered. And it was, it's hard to explain. I don't want to say that the doc was possessed, but when I went there to do an initial, like a real interview with her and find out exactly what was going on. Basically, she tried to explain it to me, and I was hesitant to really believe her. And she was explaining that the entity she thought came from, this is very, it has a very long long story.
Well, you could just sum it up in terms of the power of it, because what we're all interested in, and I don't mean to speak for you, Patricia, but please jump in when you want to. And what we're interested in is the power of this.
I didn't want to get him off track because it was so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the power of this child, and it sounds like the spirit of this child was able to move around and be in different locations. She wasn't bound to one location. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. I was going to digress a little bit and say that one of the first things that she explained to me was that that her and her sister, who lived out of state, their father had passed away, and they inherited a piece of property that was actually in a totally different state, and they didn't know anything about the property. Didn't know it even existed until he passed away, and it was passed on to them.
Oh my! What a nice present.
Yeah.
Maybe
it was like an old family farm type thing. There was a little bitty farmhouse. Of course, it was terribly dilapidated because it had been abandoned for so long, but just a nice little piece of property. So the sister and her daughter went the sister went to do some paperwork with the bank, and it was set up in a trust fund. And while she took her daughter with her, and while they were there, they thought they would just stop by just to see the property. Mm-hmm. And the doc was explaining to me that she thinks that the spirit came from that property because that's when everything started happening. And
so her source energy was in this particular property, but she traveled. I mean, she was members of your team, you report, felt touched by her, and they weren't anywhere near the property.
Yes.
Was she able to glean this within her, to bring it forth with any people that came around?
Yeah, I firmly believe, and this is kind of a theory, but it makes as much sense as I can make out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's why I kept thinking the gift was not necessarily truly a gift because there was an attachment to it.
True. That's very true. I really think, and maybe you are familiar with the theories about vibration and things like that.
Oh, sure.
And frequency and tuning in. And I really think that this child as a spirit, I think she was, I don't want to say trapped, but for lack of a better word, trapped at this location for probably close to 100 years before, maybe even longer than that, before anyone went there. And I think that when they opened the place up, I think she left with them. Mm-hmm. But I think over that course of time, I honestly believe that she found a way to tune into these vibrations and frequencies. And I think that she learned to put it in layman's terms, to tune into an electromagnetic field or frequency and travel with it. There were instances where one of us would have had an experience and called the other one on the phone, and then the experience would happen there, or a different experience, but similar, would happen to that person, almost like it was traveling through the frequency of the cell phone or something of that nature. Another time.
Let me just ask you this question, Rick. You may not know
certainly.
the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyways.
Sure. If I know, I'll answer.
How
and
do
if not,
you
we'll contemplate.
How do you know that this was a little girl and not something else, masquerading as a little girl?
That's a very good question. And like most paranormal answers, they are somewhat assumed. Mm-hmm. But during one of our investigations, we actually traveled to this location a couple of times, and during one of them, we my teammates Jen and Katie had done some research and found this what was it? It was like an old town museum almost. In the book, I called it Preservation Hall, but it was basically a little bitty, like a tourist stop in this town, and you could go in there and see artifacts from back in the 1800s when the town was first settled and all that kind of stuff. And upstairs they had a little library, and they had a special collection section that was local newspapers, local stories and things that had been written about the town or by people from the town. And one of them just fit perfectly with this case we were investigating, about a little girl who was born and her mother died while she was giving birth. And
what a horrible thing.
Yeah, and she was raised by her father, but the little girl was, they didn't go into detail, but for whatever reason, she was considered gifted. And some of the townspeople, locals, kind of shunned her and her father, and eventually this little girl was kind of labeled as a witch. And that's where the stories really kind of came together, because the experiences that we had were of this little girl burning to death. A lot of vivid dreams. One of the first experiences I had, which still kind of gives me goosebumps right now. I remember laying in bed, waking up in the middle of the night, and it was this terrible thunderstorm going on, and just shaking the windows, and the lightning struck outside so close that the windows rattled, and that's what woke me up. And I was kind of half asleep, half awake, and I was looking around in the dark room, and there was something in the corner of the room, and I thought, what? That doesn't belong there. What is that? And the more I looked, I started making out it was a figure, like a little girl standing there. And I mean, this went on for probably a minute. It wasn't just I thought I saw a shadow. I mean, this was something standing in the corner of my room.
And could you see features, or how did you identify that this was a little girl?
I could see the outline of her hair, and it actually looked like it was moving. So I could tell, and she, maybe 3.5, 4 foot tall, maybe 4 foot tall. And it looked like she was wearing a dress. And the lightning flashed, and I literally saw her. And at
Were
the
you
same time,
scared when you saw her? I mean, this had to be a startling moment.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I saw her. I could tell she had blonde hair, and immediately, like within a millisecond, I saw this little girl with blonde hair, and then I saw this charred figure in the corner of my room, and then it just vanished. And I literally fell out of my bed trying to get out. Like I was wrapped up in the covers. I literally fell out of my bed and turned the lights on, and I stood there and I stared in the corner for probably, I don't know, it seemed like forever. And I was just literally almost shaking and sweating. I was that petrified.
I would think so. I mean, that's not something you expect to see in your room in the middle of the night. Thunderstorm
no, it
or
wasn't
no
something I would
thunderstorm.
expect. That particular experience is probably one of the most honestly traumatic things that I've ever seen in paranormal investigation.
Have you had experiences of it since then?
It's not something I would have expected to see at some haunted location either, much less in my own room. But literally, I don't know how long I stood there with, looking into the corner, waiting for something to happen or something to come back, or I don't know what I was waiting for. But I eventually did lay back down and never fell back asleep, and I never turned the lights off that night. But
I don't blame you.
True story. And eventually, I just got up and made a pot of coffee and said, "Heck with it, I'm not going to be sleeping tonight." But Yeah.
Now, did other members of the
that
team
presence since then?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever felt that presence of hers since then?
Oh, frequently. Not exactly that same situation, but
you feel it's the same entity?
Yes. And in fact, there have been times on other investigations where we really believe that she's come in either to help or just out of curiosity. I'm not really sure. Sometimes I'm sure she's there to help. And we talked about the electronic voice phenomenon, the E.V.P recordings. A lot of times we catch her same voice at numerous locations. And it's a little bit chilling to think she's kind of hanging around, but at the same time it's a little bit comforting. It's almost, at this point now, it's almost like we have a friend on the other side. But at the time
she definitely feels that way. I mean, she definitely feels like she's curious, like you mentioned that word.
Right.
She definitely feels that way. She's curious about you guys and what you're all doing. But whether she's a little girl or not is an interesting question.
Well, do you feel that her passing was normal, or do you feel that she was burned when she passed?
We really believe that she was burned from evidence that we found at the home. I mean, there was actually a burn hole in front of the fireplace, and I mean, the book goes into a little more detail of the evidence that we caught there.
Right.
But there's really no doubt in my mind that a child burned there.
That's horrible.
It really is. It's a very heart-wrenching story, honestly.
And it's hundreds of years after the Salem trials, right?
It really, yes. Salem was in the late 1600s.
Yes,
right.
Although, I mean, if you look back at the history, I mean, I was just actually doing some research online the other day, and a lot of times African Americans in the late 1800s and early 1900s were actually burned as punishment. So it's not, although
a good way to go.
Although they weren't,
Absolutely
no, not at all,
not
at all.
Absolutely not.
And although they, the African American situations, they were supposedly punishing them for crimes, not for being a witch. It just kind of goes to show you that there are some people who lack humanity. That
man's inhumanity to man.
Yes, exactly. And there are always radical groups out there, like the Ku Klux Klan and things like that, right, who don't think twice about discriminating. And that's one of the big points that I try to make in the book is to be compassionate and not to judge anyone because they're different. Try to be understanding.
We keep forgetting to someone else we are different. To them, we may be different.
That's right.
Equally so.
That's exactly right.
And you don't have to be afraid of people who are gifted or have psychic ability. I mean, it's just, if you are, then that means you need to look inside to see what's going on and what you need to control or let go of. But this is a sad situation if this truly happened to a child. I know it has happened in the past to children and certainly grown-ups in terms of being burned at the stake or, again, being treated very badly, and only because they're gifted. So it is a very sad tale, but what's really nice about your book is you bring everything to a place of healing and also, again, having this friendly relationship with her and uncovering her name and the legend and all the... I mean, there's so much more to this story. I don't want to ruin it either for everybody, but there's so many wonderful details.
They do need to buy the book. The stories are fascinating, just fascinating.
Yeah, it's
we're going to
probably
take
the greatest case I will ever experience.
Wonderful. Well, look, we're going to take a short commercial break. If you have a question for Rick, then please call in at 646-478-0828, and our lovely call screener, Rebecca, will take your call and put you in the queue, or you can write a question in the chat room and we'll ask it on your behalf. Again, the phone number is 646-478-0828. And stay tuned, everyone. We are talking with Rick Keuber about the witch child of Helmach Creek. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Bonjour, this is Veronique Raskin, founder of the Organic Wine Company. As one of the pioneers of the organic wine movement, since 1980 I have brought you the very best and most authentic organic wines directly to your table. I work with small family estates who grow certified organic grapes and produce exceptional wines. You can purchase our wines individually from our website at theorganicwinecompany.com or join one of our wine clubs. Our organic wines are perfect for you and for your family as gifts for friends and relatives, and they are simply spectacular for the holidays. Visit us at theorganicwinecompany.com to enjoy the very best organic wines conveniently delivered to your door. I am Veronique Raskin, passionate about my mission. I offer to you vegan, organic, and biodynamic wines, wines made by people of the heart, wines with a heart. Au revoir. Call us at 1-888-ECO-WINE.
Everyone, we're having a fascinating discussion tonight with author and paranormal investigator Rick Keuber, and he is the author of Forever Ash, The Witch Child of Helmach Creek. Now, I have to tell everybody tonight that it has just been reported that, Rick, while you were talking about the girl in the corner at 7:14 Eastern Time, or excuse me, that would be Central Time.
Central.
To be 8:14 our time, that your voice scrambled for about 3 seconds.
Really?
So,
well, that doesn't surprise me.
So here we are again. These weird things always happen when people come on the show, and it's important to bring them to consciousness because this is the paranormal. This is where paranormal is normal on our show, and there's something about this entity that is very intriguing. And it's, again, I keep asking, is this really a little girl? Patricia, are you feeling the same way?
Well, I'm feeling that this was a little girl, but a very old soul, and that's what I kept picking up.
And that makes perfect sense to me.
Because I just keep getting this overwhelming part of her portion that was there to make a difference or to put something out for others to take a look at.
Yeah. And, it's kind of interesting, you mentioning about my voice scrambling. We really think, like I talked earlier about her tuning in with the EMFs and things, we really think that a lot of times we have equipment failures and things like that because we think she has a way of messing with those type things, especially electronics. And it's also interesting. I hesitated earlier when you said that you thought there was a pet or a cat or something, spirit, that had an attachment to me that was visiting you. Because honestly, this little girl has been known to visit people that I've spoken to about this book, and as well as people who've read the book. And that may be a little bit frightening to some, but
not to us. We're so used to it. So
no, it's very true. Feeling, excuse me. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when I first put the book out, and a lot of people were picking it up and reading it because it was, it was so new, and I got so many emails and messages saying, I think I had a visit last night, or I had this dream about this little girl. It was your book was so vivid, and I kept thinking in the back of my mind that, well, it may not have just been a dream. That may have been, a little more than that. And even there's one in particular that that's kind of interesting. I mailed the book to a friend of mine, an associate, and the little girl is, for some reason, every time that there's some event that she's involved in, or that I'm involved in where the book is prominent, like a book signing or something to that effect, it seems like there's always an electrical storm involved. And so I mailed this book up to a friend of mine up by Chicago, and she gets the book. Somebody brings her the book, and she said it was a beautiful day. Someone brought her the book, or brought the package in. Oh, you got this in the mail. And as she's opening it up and starting to open it up and read the forward and things, the sky kept getting darker and darker, and they had this huge, incredible thunderstorm that just came out of nowhere that day. And, she actually even sent me a screenshot from her phone of the radar. She's like, it was blue skies when I got the book, and suddenly we're in the middle of this incredible thunderstorm with high winds and lightning, and I said, well, I'm not really surprised. And she had several experiences like that, and she would get as she was reading the book, she would get a light knocking on her back door, and she would go, and no one would be there. And so this little girl, I think she just wants people to know, that she's there, she's real, and I think she gets comfort from people knowing her story.
Well, reason, people hear a story like that, it's heart-wrenching to think about a child who was burned to death because of a gift she had. Now, did Theo communicate with this little girl?
He did, yes. Yes, and honestly, I would love to be able to understand Theo's gifts and to know how that worked for him, how he communicated as far as, what was it really like for him. I mean, he's tried to explain those things, but I'm sure the experience that he has is nothing compared to what I imagine. But yes, we when we went back to the location the second time, we brought Theo with us, and he had also had some personal experiences before we even went there, but he actually connected with her, and actually the spirit of her father was there as well, and I think that was a big part of her finding peace, was connecting with her father again.
Do
you feel that there was a reconnection for you with her from another point in time?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Do you feel that there was a reconnection with you and she from another point in time? Because I keep seeing her as an old soul, but being somewhere in the past coming forward so someone can finally bring her forward again.
You mean like from a past life of mine?
Yes.
Or
both?
I had never thought about that. So I would have to say no at this point, just because it had never even crossed my mind. It's obviously a possibility, I suppose, isn't it? I just had never gone down that road.
That you need to think on that, because there's something in your connection with her that's given her the ability to come forth, but also for you, after all this period of time, that you would be the one to be able to bring her out.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, and honestly, I even mentioned it at one point in the book. That the doc, as I call her, she talked about how she was lucky that she had such a wonderful paranormal team with that was so skilled and all that. We were new at the time, and I remember thinking to myself that we're not a great paranormal team. We're just really fortunate and really lucky that things are working out the way they are. But I never thought about the possibility of there being some connection from the past, and I suppose that is a real possibility, whether it was my connection or I don't know. I've never delved into that thought or that possibility. But now you've given me something to to really give some deep thought and some soul searching on.
Because I just keep picking her up as such a very, very old soul, that where the connection came from at another point in time, that it finally got to a point where it could be brought out. Now this will give you something else to look into to see where it goes from here.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because, again, I keep asking the same question to myself. I say it out loud to you guys, but it's very unusual, in my experience, for a ghost that has been in human form to be able to do frequency jumping like she did. And it just seemed, this is what I see in my head. And when you talk about this, is that it was a portal right in front of that fireplace. And I don't doubt there was somebody who died there, and it was an unpleasant death. I have no doubt about that. But oftentimes these other entities from other dimensions can come through, and they're very curious about us, some of them, and they're benign. They're not coming in to hurt us, but they are, and I'm going to go back to your word, Rick, curious about us. And in order to relate to us, they may take on a human form so that we can relate to them and not be frightened by the fact that they're really not human. They are from somewhere else. So that's another possibility here I'm going to throw out at you. And again, I'm basing this on just my own vision and thought and feelings of, as you're talking. This is what's the movie that's unfolding in my head. And I see this entity who's really enjoying itself, kind of taking on this persona so that you can relate to it. So I know this is probably sounding very strange to some people in our audience, but probably others understand what I'm saying. There's a lot going on here, and there is something so unusual about your energy, and that's what draws people, and that's what I saw with your cat, Sammy. It's like it just kept walking into the room to get my attention. To say this about you. So it's really an interesting experience having you on the show tonight. And we're talking about this one book, but in fact, you've had many other experiences too.
Oh, yes.
So it's not just this one story.
No, not at all. We've been at this since 2008, and granted, like I said, this is probably the most powerful entity we've ever encountered, which is why I felt compelled to write the book. But we've got
some people are writing. Just so you're aware of what people are writing in the chat room. I'm just going to give you a bird's eye view of this. Some people are writing. It could have been a little girl demon. It could have been a little girl that said she burned to death in an apartment. There was something about a little girl who said she burned to death in an apartment fire, playing on human emotion in order to receive permission to stay. I mean, these are some of the things coming out of the chat room. And then, of course, the animal ghost that was really a demon pretending to be a little girl. So people are very curious about this, and I guess they're asking a similar question to what I said. But again, I feel this spirit, as you had also said, is totally a benign spirit. Nobody was hurt from their encounters with her, and in fact, you felt a friendly feeling there, right?
Yeah, initially it was very frightening, and some of there were actually, like I spoke about my very first, well, not very first, but the second time when I met the doctor at her house, and the experience I had there, she literally just took me by the hand, and all of a sudden I felt like my arm was on fire. I mean, I had this burning sensation, and as soon as she broke her grip, it was gone. And she was like, that's what I feel all the time. And so there were things like that were, I guess you could say, physical. And there were a lot of, not just myself, but other team members as well, having dreams and visions of being engulfed in flames, and having that feeling of, desperation of I'm dying, I'm burning to death, which was incredibly frightening.
Mm-hmm. That would be.
Personally, I think, and the feelings that I got, and I don't claim to be psychic whatsoever, but the feelings that I got were that, if this is a 9-year-old child, which is the best we can figure, somewhere around that age, this is someone who probably may not understand what they're doing. Perhaps they're trying to show us something and may not have a full understanding of what we're really experiencing or how dramatic it is for us. And as far as demonic things go, I actually touch on that in the book at one point, where we discuss the possibility of a shadow demon that may be actually attached to this child spirit, and we go into that, in some pretty good depth, which is it's actually, in my opinion, is fascinating.
I hope
everyone else finds it interesting as well. But
all kinds of things going on here. And as you mentioned, your scariest experience with this particular investigation happened when she appeared in your room and then you fell out of bed. But have there been other investigations where you were equally as afraid or startled by an appearance of something?
We were investigating a location here locally called the Owl's Nest. It's a social club, and it's kind of like an FOP or an Order of the Eagles. It's a fraternal club where you have to be a member to go in, and it was located in what used to be a family home here in Evansville, Indiana, and the home was built back in the 1800s, and the Owl's Nest, this club, they bought it in 1920 22, I believe. But while we were there investigating in the older part of the home in the basement, we actually were kind of rushed by 2 or 3 shadow figures that just came directly at us, and that was extremely frightening. In fact, I remember I actually fell over I stepped backwards and caught my heel on a step up and fell backwards into a hallway. But that was quite frightening.
And when they rushed at you, did you feel a temperature change?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah.
So
it got quite cold.
Colder, hotter?
Yes.
What did you feel?
Yeah, no, it was quite cold. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Did they appear again, or they were just gone? They just did a little scare tactics and then took off.
At that time, yeah, by the time I gathered my senses after falling back, they were just gone. But there were numerous experiences that we had there. In fact, I actually have written a book about that as well.
Oh, wonderful. And what's the name of that one?
Well, that one is going to be called The Shadows of Eternity.
Okay. Well, that's a new book coming out then, right?
It is. And actually, the book that you're speaking of, Forever Ash, there's book 1, and Shadows of Eternity is going to be book 2. It's going to be a trilogy of books about our investigations.
Oh, marvelous.
And I self-published the book you're speaking of, Forever Ash, The Witch Child of Helmach Creek, and it was so well received that French Point Publishing has agreed to publish the whole trilogy, even though I haven't finished writing the 3rd book yet.
Wonderful.
And,
terrific. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. We're actually having a big book launch event the 14th of March, so in less than a month, both books will be available through French Point Publishing, and I'm very excited about that.
Let our audience know. Are you going to be doing this where they can come if they're in the area? Where will this be?
Well, if they are in the area, it will be open to the public, and it's going to actually be held at the Owl's Nest here in Evansville, Indiana.
Wonderful.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to bring out some of the old artifacts that were there when the home was purchased by the Owl's Nest. There's one particular piece that's an old wheelchair, the old wooden type wheelchair from back in the 1800s that was left behind, and there's an interesting story about that too. When we were investigating, that wheelchair was down in an old room that used to be the boiler room for the house, and the boiler had been removed, so it was basically a big empty room with a pit in the floor where the boiler used to be, and the wheelchair was sitting off to the side. And it was just fascinating. So we were taking a lot of pictures of it, and behind the wheelchair, just up, if you were looking at it, it would be just up and to the left. There was an opening which went into a crawl space, and there were probably 100 photos taken that day or that night of that wheelchair in that room. And in only one of the photographs in that opening, there you can see the head and shoulders of a woman, and it looks very shadowy. It's not white. But it blacks it. You can see the bricks on the wall behind the cutout opening, but the shadow actually blocks out the brick pattern. So it's very interesting.
So an entity appeared for you just for those photos. How fun.
Yeah, and I've got a little bit of a theory about that too. I think sometimes we may catch an entity in a photo. Like I said, we literally took 100 photos there and only caught that one. But I think there's such a fast movement of their energy. That's why we don't see them and we don't hear them with our ears. But sometimes that camera shutter is quick enough to maybe catch something.
I totally agree with you. I think that's absolutely the case, that they are on a different frequency, and we just don't perceive that very easily. And then there are people with great talent like Theo Castaridis who can perceive that frequency. They can be your eyes and ears into those dimensions. And it's really great that you work with someone as credible as Theo, because, again, a lot of times you don't know what you're getting into when you walk into these places that are haunted, or carry strong portal energy. So, having somebody like Theo around is kind of a nice insurance policy that you're not getting involved with something you'll be sorry about.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, are either of you familiar with a psychic medium named Rick Hayes?
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, not for me either.
No. Okay. He's done some work on. He's very well known. He actually has he's a life coach as well. I mean, he's just a fantastic person. But he's done work on TV shows as well, like on the Travel Channel for sci-fi and things like that. But he actually came down and worked with us on this case at the Owl's Nest for book 2, and so it was really kind of interesting to have two different psychic mediums there, and see what they're picking up and how well they actually matched each other. And I always find that interesting from a scientific point of view, to do the historical research and the electronic voice phenomenon that we capture, and then go back and see what Theo picks up and how well those two oftentimes relate. Sometimes it's very uncanny.
It's always
really
surprising when people can be that tuned together. I think it's marvelous.
It is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're bringing all the elements to the table on your investigations between your scientific equipment, and then you have your mediumship and all of the other writings that you're doing about what's happening. So you're offering basically a full investigative experience for people that call you and want you to be involved.
Yeah, we try, and like I said, when I first started, I was all about being scientific about it, but I just kind of turned that corner when I realized that, if we don't bring in someone like Theo, it's kind of being closed-minded about it, and not opening ourselves up to all the possibilities of how we can really help someone, or even help who may need help. For example, like at the Owl's Nest. I mean, it was a social club, and people were having experiences, but it wasn't anything terrifying. It wasn't anything that let's get rid of something. We've got something evil here. They just wanted us to come in to see what was going on, if it was really haunted and that sort of thing, which we did. We came in and we got some amazing evidence for them. But we also found out, through research and things like that, and through our investigating and Theo, and Rick Hayes, we also found out that the house had a tragic history. The family that had the house built, the husband and wife had 4 young children, 4 young boys, who all died before the age of 5.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, excuse me. I have to digress there. Before the age of 8. 3 of the 4 died before they were 5. 1 died before he turned 8. And back in the late 1800s, the chances are they probably died at home, because he just didn't go to the hospital. Most of the time the doctor came to the house, or.
That's right.
Back in the old days, yes, they did make house calls.
That's right.
Yeah.
A million years ago.
You didn't get the flu and go to the hospital. If you were sick, you called the doctor, and they made their rounds. So chances are back then those 4 young boys probably died at home, and that's where these shadows came from. I think we had a lot of shadow experiences there.
Yeah, and it's hard to know what came first, chicken or the egg. I mean, did the death of those children cause such a well of grief for the parents that it, again, tore a hole in the reality, and then these things step through? It's so hard to know sometimes where they come from. I've got a couple questions here from the chat room for you, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Rick.
Sure.
One of them is they want to know, has the little girl been released from the trauma of burning?
I truly believe so. I don't get that feeling when we have had any other experiences, or maybe I should say any other times when we've encountered her, I don't have that same feeling about her, that feeling of that traumatic feeling, or that feeling of needing help.
Mm-hmm.
She actually, I believe she actually made an appearance when we were investigating the owl's nest once. And I really felt like she was there to help. And,
so you
and
think
that was
she has been
lot,
released then from it? From the
I
trauma?
really do. I really do. I really think she's found peace. And, one of my theories, and a lot of people agree with me on this, and I'm not trying to take credit for it, because I'm sure that people have said the same or similar things, but I think the difference between a ghost haunting and a spiritual visit, is that a ghost is someone who has something traumatic or something unfinished, and so they feel like they're kind of trapped in this realm until they find peace. Whereas a spirit has found that peace, and they can move on to the other side, but that doesn't stop them from coming back to visit, such like a parent or grandparent who's passed. They can still come and visit, but it's not a haunting. It's a spiritual visit. And I think that, I think that is what has happened to the little girl, Ashley. I think she has transitioned from being a haunting spirit to being a spirit of peace who visits out of love, compassion, and the desire to help other spirits.
Well,
that's nice
I like
know.
that. I mean, that's a nice explanation. And here's another question for you from the chat room. People want to know what advice you have for ghost hunters just starting out.
Oh, my goodness. Make sure that this is something that you are very passionate about. It's not something to take on because you want the thrill of an experience. Because, as I mentioned at least once in my book, people do it because they want to have an experience. They want something to believe. I want to see a ghost. But like the time when I was so scared I fell out of my bed, once you have that experience, you can never unexperience it. It's with you forever. So be careful. Make sure this is something you really want. For one, that's my first piece of advice.
Okay, good advice.
Secondly, do not hesitate to find a credible medium with a lot of experience to go with you, because just like people warn about using a Ouija board is just a piece of cardboard with paper printed on it. Anything can be a portal that could be, or a door that can be opened. This scientific equipment, if we're using that to try to communicate, that's no different than a Ouija board. You have to be careful when you open that door not to leave it open for anything to come in. So that's another reason why a psychic medium is helpful. They can help you with that sort of thing, as well as, we always have Theo do a saging ritual, a smudging, before we go in to investigate a location, as well as when we leave, so as not to take any negative energies with us.
Very wise.
And a lot of people don't even think about that. They don't, and they don't even realize after the fact that these things start going wrong for them. They start having problems, or their attitude takes a turn for the worse or something like that, and they don't realize that these two things are related.
And we've seen that a lot with people who go in and they're not protecting themselves, they're not shielding themselves, and they don't know what they're going into. Anything can attach itself and follow you home.
Yeah. Yes, and it's not always going to present itself as a ghost. You're not going to know. Very rarely is a ghost going to follow you home and start moving objects in front of you, or appear in the corner of your room like I had happen. Most of the time you're not going to know. It's just going to be a negativity that's going to follow you around and wreak havoc on you, and you won't know why.
So your advice is don't do this lightly because there are risks.
Yes. And the last piece of advice I will give, and anyone who's ever watched some of the more popular paranormal shows on TV have seen this, never, under any circumstances, provoke a spirit. I always look at it, don't do anything just to get a reaction. Assume that if there's a spirit there, assume it's another person, and especially assume it's a child. Would you do something or say something to a child sitting in front of you? If you wouldn't, don't do it or say it to a spirit.
Makes good sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's out of respect. I have a lot of respect for a spirit, and just like I have respect for my elders. So, I don't know what they've been through. I know they've been through a lot of things that I haven't because they've already transitioned this life. So I have respect for them. And to taunt them or to provoke them in order to get a reaction is just very disrespectful. And there again, you're just kind of asking for trouble. And if you truly care about spirituality and about paranormal activity and doing things properly, then you wouldn't want to do that.
What's that old saying? Don't tease the dog can bite.
Exactly.
Yes, they have teeth.
That's
oh
right.
My goodness.
Yes.
This is fascinating.
So where do you go from here, Rick? Do you continue to do investigations in your area in Indiana, or what are you doing right now?
Yes, actually, we just had one a couple of weeks ago, just outside of our hometown. And you mentioned earlier we do investigations here in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. But actually, Theo and I actually just went recently to a location in Ohio we were called to, and the whole team is going to go back there as soon as the weather warms up a little bit to finish this investigation. It's an abandoned location, but it's there's a person there who kind of takes care of the place, and she's had a lot of experiences, and they keep becoming more and more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Extreme.
Yeah, that is a good word for it. They do become more and more extreme with each visit, and so she called us in, and we've begun to investigate, and she's helping us with some of the history work. And we've uncovered some fascinating things, and actually that is what I'm writing my third book about. And I'm hoping, because we're still investigating, that we have a good ending. But at this point, it's fascinating already, and I'm sure we'll make a good book. I just hope we can have some finality, because this is the final book of the trilogy.
Oh gosh, yeah, we hope that you can find that happy ending too. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And if
now,
not,
how
I may
can people
have to,
find you, Rick? If people want your help or they want to ask some questions, how do they get a hold of you? Do you have a website that you could announce?
Well, I have a website, but it is under construction, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Once
Facebook
it's finished,
page?
I do have a Facebook page. You can look it up by my name, or you can look it up under Evansville Vanderburg Paranormal. The website, when it's finished, will be evansvilleparanormal.org.
Okay.
Another good way people can reach me, if they can spell my name, which sometimes a little tricky.
Spell it for everybody then.
But yeah, if you have a pen, or if you want to go back and listen, if this is rebroadcast, get on your email and type in RickKueber gmail.com. You can send me a direct email. I'm more than happy to read those and respond with any questions you may have. And don't hesitate to contact me for whatever. And like you said earlier, you can contact me on Facebook, friend me, or send me a message. Friending me is actually best because I've actually found out that a few people have sent me messages who weren't my friend, and it goes to some other inbox, and I didn't find them for a couple of months. So your best bet, my page is open to the public, so your best bet is just to go on there and add me as a friend. And I'm more than happy to instant message with someone on there, or like I said, send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to respond to that as well.
Oh, that's very generous of you, Rick. I know the amount of time that you put into this, and it's great that your heart is in it. And again, the name of your book, Forever Ash, The Witch Child of Helmach Creek. So if you want to find out all the rest of the details, you started to hear some tidbits here tonight on Supernatural Girls Radio, but go out and get that book, and then you'll read all of the details of the story that took place under the investigative care of Rick Keuber. So, Rick, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and sharing your spooky stories with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's
you're
wonderful.
Very welcome. I had a great evening. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, you're going to have to come back when you finish your trilogy. We got to hear the rest of the stories. So, again, everybody here in the Supernatural Girls audience, we all love this kind of stuff. So it's
definitely
it's something that. Yeah, we always like to hear these stories. So let us know. Let us know.
I'm going to jump in and join up on your Facebook page.
All right.
Please do.
I will too.
Yeah,
yes.
That's great.
Yeah. So anybody who's listening, if you can't remember how to spell my name, you can always look me up as being a friend of Patricia or Patricia.
There you go.
That's right.
You'll find it there, right there.
That's for
well,
sure.
Thanks
That's
again,
for sure.
Rick, and good luck with your investigations, and keep us posted.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to the coming book.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're very welcome.
So another fascinating story, another fascinating show, Patricia. It's been fun.
Oh, it has been. I get engrossed in some of the things as he's talking about things, or some of our other guests as well. But you just pick up other things. You've picked up about the cat, and I kept picking up, this is a very old soul that has had some kind of a connection with him before.
Isn't that something? I mean, there's so many layers of this.
Mm-hmm.
So many layers, and it's, again, I'm so glad they have a good team put together so that they can
Theo,
make sure
yes,
that
definitely.
Oh yeah, they got to make sure that what they're getting into is not going to be harmful. And as you know, we've cautioned people quite a few times on this show. Please, don't try this at home, kind of thing, because you never know what you're going to bring home with you. If you can't see into those dimensions, you can't sense what's going on, you don't really have a lot of protection there. So go cautiously, everybody who's going to be wanting to have an experience like Rick has had, and get a good team together. Get people who are going to circle the wagons for you if things get rough.
And that's for sure. You need someone that's definitely going to cover your back.
Yeah, you got it. Now, next week, we're back to UFOs. We have a Native American woman coming on who has written a book about the sky people. This is going to be great because, as you and I have discussed, and our audience is always emailing us and chatting with us about UFO beings and that long history that so many cultures have had with them, especially Native Americans. So we're going to hear from Artie Six Killer next week. I cannot wait to hear what she has to say. So,
another fabulous show coming up, that's for sure.
It's just one after another.
We're going to keep doing until we find them all out, and I don't think we're going to be around that long to find them all out.
I know.
There's
so much stuff going on. It's great guests, great books, great experiences for everybody. And again, sign up on supernaturalgirls.com newsletter and make sure that you stay in touch because we are going to keep bringing you the best of paranormal. So, tune in next week, Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And Patricia, I'll see you on the Blue Highway.
Ooh, you got it. Have a good night, dear.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.